Hello guys, welcome to Top Anime Sensei. This video is the continuation video after a new problem. So if you have not watched it, then please watch it. The link is in the description. So without any further delay, let's start. But before we start, please like, subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Whether Gadra would realize this mistake or not was the key that would decide his fate. At the behest of Yuki, 3 people were selected. They were chosen because they were members of the mixed corps, and perhaps most importantly, acquainted with Master Gadra. In preparation for the upcoming introduction, Yuki had invited Master Gadra to his room, so he could meet the men that were to become his entourage. They were Shinji Tanemura, a university student from Japan, who had spent most of his days in the lab doing research. Even in this world, he loved wearing a white coat, which had now become his trademark look. Mark Lauren, he was a brown-haired, muscular man in his mid-20s, making him the oldest of the 3. As a guy in peak physical condition, he was the type to wear a tank top and jeans all year round, even in the winter. Xin Luxing, this was a young man of few words. While you could never quite tell what he was thinking, he would carry out his orders to a T. He wore a loose Chinese-style outfit with his braided, black hair running down his back. It seemed like he always had various weapons tucked away underneath his loose clothes. Both Mark and Sin followed Shinji's words obediently, and before he knew it, Shinji had established himself as their leader. The 3 of them lined up straight in front of Yuki and Gadra. Long time no see, teacher. The black-haired young man, Shinji, greeted Gadra on behalf of the group. Indeed, Shinji, long time no see. And you too, Mark and Sin. Have you been well? Yes, I'm fine. I'm glad that you seem to be doing well too. Master, I'm not well. Gadra grinned widely upon hearing Mark and Zin's replies. You haven't changed one bit. I am relieved to see that the core is thriving. These 3 were otherworlders protected by Yuki. He gathered otherworlders from all over the world under his protection, and sent them to the Empire, whether they had any affinity for combat or not. They were received by the secret society Cerberus and brought to Master Gadra, the Archmage of the Empire, although his goal was to elicit otherworld knowledge from them. Gadra trained those who had the will, as well as talent for combat, and those he instructed belonged to an exceptional group, a place for individuals with unique and special talents, the mixed corps. The Empire wasn't quite so naive as to bestow high military ranks upon people simply because they were otherworlders. It was due to the fact that these people were able to masterfully wield their power, making them excellent warriors in their own right. That power was the unique skill that manifested in each of them. The 3, having achieved full command of their unique skills, had earned themselves unshakable positions in the army. Yeah, Shinji and the gang are top-notch even among my mixed corps. I believe that they are the perfect candidates for this investigative mission. If Yuki Dono says so, then I have no qualms about it. You guys can take a seat too. The trio sat down in their chairs, as suggested by the stern wizard, feeling a slight sense of dread. Gadra chuckled as he watched them. Even though they had become competent soldiers, he still got a kick out of seeing them so nervous around him. So, Yuki Dono, you will lend these 3 to me for the investigation. Gadra broke the ice, not dwelling on the little fun he had. Yeah, I wanted to do the investigation myself, but, unfortunately, I really can't go to that country. Sending only these 3 does worry me. So as their supervisor, I wonder if I could ask for your help too, Master. The report I read was quite intriguing. If what's written in it is true, then it's imperative that we investigate it before the great expedition. Gadra looked at Yuki inquisitively, waiting for his response. Yuki nodded as if he'd seen it coming. They are all true. I will explain it to you 3 as well. This mission is a little bit special. I want you to investigate a certain labyrinth. Well, please wait a second. We've been summoned here to do some kind of obstacle course. Are we that unreliable to you? Even if it's a request from Master Gadra, that kind of thing should have to wait until after the great military invasion. Mark, the hothead among the 3, flared up at Yuki. This was business as usual with Mark. Yuki would let him blurt out as many questions as he wanted if he wasn't convinced. Calm down, Mark, Shinji chided him. This is a serious matter, okay? But just be patient. Mark, Yuki-san has something in mind, right? First let's listen to what he has to say. Having placated Mark, Shinji turned to Yuki. Well then, please explain. Of course, if you hear me out, I'm most certain you won't have any complaints. And so, Yuki began his thorough explanation of their mission. Gadra had heard it all beforehand, so he just sat there listening to Yuki, checking if there were any inconsistencies in his statements. The trio, meanwhile, was astonished. Yuki's protégés, warriors possessing unique skills, had infiltrated every corps as sleeper agents. Once awoken, they were to simultaneously create an uprising and seize control over their corps. The trio wasn't given any specific details, but they had reason to believe that day was near. These three were part of it too. They believed it was only a matter of time before they got their orders. Now that Yuki had taken control of the mixed corps, world domination, when they heard Yuki's dream, it seemed so childish that none of them thought for a second that they could pull it off. But as time went on, they began honing their abilities and started becoming aware of the state of the world at large. Cracks started forming in their doubts, and soon enough, the belief that this was possible started to take root in their minds. Shinji and the others had come to admire Yuki and eagerly awaited that moment. But when they were called out of the blue, they instead received an order to conquer the dungeon. The three of them were understandably puzzled. Still, as they listened to the explanation, they began to come around to the idea. According to Yuki, of all the preparations and investigations done for the war, only the labyrinth remained a mystery, and they thought it was highly likely to house a number of secrets within its walls. After hearing that a whole city was hidden inside it, they knew they had something significant on their hands. I understand. The Imperial Army can't ignore the dungeon before making its move. A whole city? I won't believe it until I see it with my own eyes. So that's why we are going, right? The three of them muttered as it finally clicked. That's all I have to say. You guys get it now, right? If the Empire invades the Great Jura Forest in this expedition, then we will stage the coup d'etat at once. The front lines become entrenched. To have the advantage when that time comes, we will need as much of the Imperial Army as possible lured away. Demon LordRimuru's forces and the Storm Dragon Veldora alone are not a reason enough to set the whole force of the Imperial Army into motion. We need a stronger, more compelling reason to make them move. Yuki indicated that such a reason may or may not be found in the labyrinth, and if there really wasn't one, then they should just make one up. And while that reason kept the Imperial Army occupied, Yuki would seize control of the Empire's capital. Shinji and his crew were shocked when they heard this. They had expected the coup, but this was the first time they had heard the details of it. Moreover, Gadra was right there with them. They never expected the conversation would wind up on that topic. When they walked in, given that one careless word was all it took to leak their conspiracy. Why, Yuki-san? Shinji hurried to cut him off, but Yuki answered him with a smirk. Don't worry. Master Gadra is aware of my plan. What? Hyukikuku, what else did you expect? While I do feel indebted to His Imperial Majesty, I don't really care what becomes of the Empire. My objective is to destroy Luminism. I was blind to the fact that the god Luminous is, in reality, Demon Lord Luminous. What becomes of her believers is of no concern to me. However, I must bury those who killed my friend with my own hands, or else I won't ever find peace. First, I want to dispose of this Rimuru, who is rumored to be on good terms with Demon Lord Luminous. I also plan to join you in the conquest of this labyrinth. I don't care what happens after that, Gadra said internally, a mad smile on his face. Of course, Gadra had heard rumors about Demon LordRimuru. A year ago, the kingdom of Farmus had incurred the wrath of the Storm Dragon Veldora, and brought upon themselves their own destruction. And once that violent act exhausted the Storm Dragon's strength, it allowed Demon LordRimuru to subjugate it. It was unclear whether he really subjugated it, or if they were simply allies. Nevertheless, since then, the Storm Dragon had not shown any signs of an outburst, or even released a colossal amount of Yauki. This led Gadra to believe that there was some truth to these rumors after all. In addition, there was some disturbance among the Demon Lords. It was said that several Demon Lords had withdrawn from the 10 Great Demon Lords, consequently turning it into the Octagram. The human society was notified of this change, and Demon LordRimuru was undeniably the root cause behind all this. The fact that Clayman, one of the 10 Great Demon Lords, had disappeared, and the newcomer Rimuru had earned a spot, clearly meant that Rimuru was stronger than Clayman. Clayman was a cunning and formidable Demon Lord, but Rimuru was an even greater threat. Moreover, Rimuru had established diplomatic relations with mankind, and had buried his roots deep into the Western States Council. He had no idea what the Western nations were thinking, but Gadra was certain that it was dangerous to anger the demon lord named Rimuru. Besides, there was something else that bothered him. Only 3 people survived the military campaign of Farmus, in which 20,000 were thought to have participated. Out of these 3, 1 had been murdered, leaving only the former king and Gadra's own former apprentice, Raisin. I guess I'll have to ask Raisin about this. There are so many things that I don't know about Demon LordRimuru. Gadra thought to himself, reminding himself to be cautious. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you guys have not watched my other videos, then please watch them. The links are in the description. And don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates.